the course of 2 years, he transitioned from plainly recording life events like the flood at his grandma's place or him and his friends playing dodgeball to mimicking the kind of content that was successful on YouTube at the time. In one of the earliest Pioneers Productions videos, called Randy on Christmas, Randy can be seen wearing a Fred t-shirt. The very first YouTube channel to get 1 million subs was actually Fred, whose videos consisted of a middle schooler doing very rudimentary sketches with his voice pitched up. Its success is partly due to it being the first channel to capitalize on the kids browsing YouTube at the time, one of which happened to be Randy. Being enamored with the format, his earliest stuff is structured very similarly. Another admitted influence and inspiration during this time was Angry Video Game Nerd, which was evident given the introduction of extensive curse words in the videos. The videos from this era are pretty uneventful in and of themselves. Randy was just oscillating between conventional skits and mimicking the popular YouTubers he liked. While his online presence was pretty run-of-the-mill for a kid his age, his internal life was changing radically. As he himself put it, "I've been attracted to girls since I was in late 9th or the very start of 10th grade, around 2009. I've never once been into guys, so I'm thankfully not bisexual. That would suck being caught in the middle. 10th grade was when I really grew fond of wearing female clothes. Of course, being in a house with only one brother and a father, I had to start wearing my mom's clothes. It felt so wrong, but I became obsessed with wearing a bra, especially after the Ember phase started in 2010, which obviously was never a phase. Quite often, when I had the house to myself, I'd either A, film a
My
YouTube
fortune
video,
cookie.
or B, cross-dress.
This is what I got from a fortune cookie.
Back exactly how they were, because my mom never once said anything. I just became obsessed with fantasizing about girls in 10th and 11th grade, and the hormones were impossible to ignore. I jerked off in class a total of 4 to 6 times. It wasn't easy, but I would keep my hand in my pocket and go to town slowly for sometimes as long as 25 to 40 minutes until, lo and behold, there was success. I remember I did it in my 11th grade history class and my first period in ecology class. I wouldn't recommend that, but when you're horny, you're horny. It was rare, but I even tried on my brother's girlfriend's jean shorts once while on vacation in June 2010. Anyone who's anyone can say, "Oh, Andrew's a file." It's called discovering yourself. It's not a crime. Do I go around stealing girls' clothes to wear? No, I don't. I don't tie them up in my basement either. But words cannot even remotely describe my love for girls. Yet, here I am in a filthy man's body, seen as a dude. I'm one of you, not a male. Every time I'm in a supermarket or in a retail store, I can't take my eyes off the slim teenage girls. I see them and think, why wasn't I born that way? And I break down on the inside. I wanted it, I never got it. I prayed for it, I never got it. I dreamed to have it, but I woke up repeatedly. I was destined to exist in a female's body. And the thing is, I don't want to be with girls. I want to be them. I'll gladly live and die a virgin. I respect girls too much to just use them for sex. People like that disgust me. The thought of screwing a girl disgusts me. Sex is disgusting. I am forever destined to live in isolation.
Oh, fuck. My email.
Atari. Ah, yes. Name so dearly loved from the golden age of history. A magical time when there was no internet, no cell phones, just electronic video games. Okay, it was the dark ages, but life was simple. Atari was the prime innovator in video arcades, home computers, and home video game consoles. The Atari 2600 revolutionized the game industry. It made popular the use of changeable cartridges and plug-in controllers. The games were primitive and shocking, but back in those days, they were fascinating. But then there came competition. the Odyssey 2, Intellivision, ColecoVision. Everybody was trying to take advantage of the video gaming craze. It wasn't like today where you have a choice of only 3 consoles. Back then, there were so many fucking video game systems that made your head spin. Also, there wasn't any way to know which games were good and which games were bad, so consumers were alienated by an overblown market. So Atari made another console, the 5200. It replaced the TV game switch with an automatic switch box. It also tried to eliminate the use of wires by plugging the AC adapter directly into the switch box, but that only made it more confusing. The controllers had a pause button, which was new at the time, but the joysticks were faulty and unreliable. What it all came down to, the 5200 was an oversized piece of shit. I made a whole video about it. That's how much that sucks. Following the video game crash of 1983 and 84, Nintendo and Sega would rise from the ashes, once again revolutionizing the market and ushering in a new generation of gaming. Atari threw their hat in the ring again with the 7800. This one resolved all the issues with the 5200. The controller ports allowed you to use the same controllers as the 2600, and it was also backwards compatible with the 2600 games. The 7800 games featured better graphics, but didn't have much to offer in comparison with Nintendo. So, once again, it bit the dust. Afterwards, Atari stopped naming their consoles after numbers and instead started naming them after cats. The Atari Lynx was the first handheld console that was in color, but it found itself sandwiched between the more successful portable game systems, the Nintendo Game Boy and Sega Game Gear. Though the Lynx was pretty cool, gamers found it to be a little bulky, even with the Lynx 2, the new design model. The Lynx 1 took more batteries and drained them faster than the Game Boy. Also, it didn't have the same third-party support as the others, so it lost again. Meanwhile, Nintendo and Sega were in steady competition, but whether anyone preferred the NES library games or the Sega Genesis games was a matter of opinion. However, the debate amongst the fans and Sega's marketing campaign came down to one simple fact. Genesis was 16-bit and the NES was only 8.
This started a little trend I like to call the bit wars. Nobody ever talked about bits before that, and nobody ever talked about bits since. And what are bits anyway? Nobody knew, they're just bits. Try explaining that to your parents.
Well, I want a Super Nintendo for Christmas.
Don't you already have a Nintendo?
Yeah, this one's 16-bit.
What's that?
I don't know.
Other than it meaning the graphics were better, that's all we cared about. But the bit wars brought down our sense of gaming to numbers. People began to care more about the graphics and less about the actual gameplay.
That's a lot.
It was to the point that some consoles didn't use the number of bits in their name, like the TurboGrafx 16 or the Nintendo 64.
But in 1993, one console would come along to remind us that bits aren't everything. It was the Atari Jaguar. It was announced as the first 64-bit game system. We were like, damn, 64? That's like 4 times the bits. Even the official advertising slogan said do the math.
But beyond its vicious exterior and rotating Jaguar cube on the startup screen, it had little to offer. Gamers who were suckered in found a mediocre library of games and graphics that failed to impress. The controllers were huge and they had keypads, much like the ColecoVision and Intellivision. And like those, there were overlays which sometimes come in handy, but for most games, they're unnecessary. The cartridges don't have end labels, so I had to make my own. Seriously, is there any good reason not to have end labels? I guess instead to have these weird handles. What's the point? Do I really need that extra grip? None of the other top-loading consoles had that. It's like, oh, I can't get the game out. Oh, God, I need a handle. Yeah, I just can't get a grip. Gotta have a handle. And speaking of top-loading consoles, notice how they all have a door. That's to protect from dust. That's a good thing. But the Jaguar doesn't have that. Why not? But before I can review any games, we need to discuss the graphics. This is Zool 2. Now, without criticizing the game, it's a typical side-scroller, but look at it. The graphics don't look any better than Sonic the Hedgehog, and that was 16-bit. Maybe a bad choice of game, so let's give it the benefit of the doubt and try something else. Brutal Sports Football. Another okay game. Once again, the graphics aren't too impressive. Where'd the other 48 bits go? Let's try Checkered Flag. This showcases the graphic capabilities a little more, just the fact that it puts you into a three-dimensional environment. But compared to F-Zero on Super Nintendo, 48 bits less, but a million times more appealing to the eye. Now look at Cybermorph. It's a flying game with polygon graphics. Going back to Super NES one more time, look at Star Fox. Are we missing something here? For a game console that claims to be 64-bit, it really doesn't show a whole lot of improvement.
This caused a lot of debate amongst gamers whether or not it really was 64-bit. It's a topic that usually overshadows the Jaguar itself, but it's something that we just need to get out of the way.
Well, we do know that Atari was
Originally planning a
32-bit system called the Panther, but decided to skip it and leap ahead. The Jaguar still used a 32-bit graphic processing
unit, but through a combination of other processors somehow added up to 64. It's technical and confusing, but the point is the Jaguar was a rare species, not built like most game consoles.
That made it harder for programmers to develop games on it, and as a result, many games didn't utilize its full capabilities, whatever they could have been.
So I've given you a little history of Atari and how it tried to win the bit wars. Now that we got that out of the way, check in for part 2, and we'll actually play some Jaguar games. Or if you want to be cool, you say play some Jag.
Alright, let's play some Jag. We've already established that the graphics weren't much of a leap for 64 bits, but graphics aren't everything. Take a look at Tempest 2000. It's an arcade-style game with a three-dimensional feel. It's really addicting and fun to play. Basically, you're in space with a bunch of 3D shapes, just shooting stuff and collecting power-ups. Funny to think that something so simple happens to be one of the best games the Jaguar has to offer. It even has some good kick-ass music. So kick-ass that there was actually a soundtrack on CD. What's this monster on the cover? Does that ever happen in the game? Let's check out Alien vs. Predator. It's a first-person sort of survival horror film. You can play as not only the alien and the predator, but as a marine. And with each character, your objectives are completely different. Surprisingly, it's most fun to play as the marine because you have a gun. But with the alien and predator, you have to sneak up on people. Not much to say, but it's another memorable game on the Jaguar. Next up, big motherfucker of first-person shooters, Doom. This is one of the best console ports of Doom that I've played. It comes as close to the PC version as it gets, but they had to ruin it with one thing. There's no music during the gameplay. Really? Was there any reason not to have music? Did they run out of time? Some might consider it scarier that way, but it would have been nice to have the option. I call this one Silent Doom, so just put on some Slayer and you're all set. So I think I covered most of the real famous Jaguar games, so now let's look at something more obscure. Attack of the Mutant Penguins. I gotta admit, the name alone got my attention. What the hell's going on? From what I understand, there's a bunch of penguins walking around. They buy tickets and they go into a transformation booth where they become evil mutant penguins. And from there, they go to the Doom Scale. Yeah, the Doom Scale. They jump in the mouth and then appear on the scale. So you gotta stop the penguins by using a weapon. For example, a baseball bat. How do you get the bat? You gotta collect letters that spell the word bat. Where you find the letters inside treasure chests. But how do you open the treasure chests? A key, right? No, gremlins. Yeah, you collect what they call gremlins, and supposedly you drop the gremlins inside the treasure chest and then it opens. But no, it doesn't open right away. It takes like 10 seconds. The more gremlins you use, the faster it opens. But it doesn't open, it like explodes. When you get the bat, you gotta kill all the penguins, but they don't die if you hit them. Instead, there's a bunch of power orbs that scatter all over. You gotta get all the power orbs to power up your bats to kill the penguins. But you only kill the penguins wearing hats because the ones that don't wear hats fight the ones that do wear hats. If the mutant penguins on the Doom Scale outweigh the regular penguins, the Doom Scale starts screaming and going apeshit.
This is the weirdest game I've ever played. I mean, it's not bad if you're drunk or high or something, but how did they come up with this shit? I got it. I can come up with a game like this. How about you're a shark? You gotta shake palm trees till trains fall down. And you put the trains in an apple, and then turkeys come and eat the apples, and then the turkeys go up waterfalls, and to get them down, you have to collect monkey butts. So you drop the monkey butts on power lines, and alright, what's next?
Ninja.
Fighting game, and a really bad one. Most fighting games have a character select screen. In fact, all of them have that, right? Well, not this one. Instead, it's got this weird first-person sort of thing. You walk around and touch statues to pick your character. It's so awkward. How did they fuck up something as easy as the select screen? Even worse, when playing the one-player mode, you only get a choice of playing as two characters. You have to beat the other characters to unlock it. That alone makes it more of a pain in the ass than it has to be. The game itself is pretty much a Mortal Kombat clone, with every hit making pools of blood fall down, and it even has death moves. But it's also one of those games that wimps out by censoring the violence. You have to put in a parental password just to turn the blood on. Basically, it's just a 6-digit code. But what's the chance of kids not figuring out the code before their parents do? But once it's unlocked, you still need to set the level of blood. So in case you want there to be a little bit of blood, but not too much, who the fuck cares? Just turn the goddamn blood on. The control is horrible. It's almost as bad as Shaq Fu. I'm not kidding. The attacks are sluggish, there's not much strategy, and you'll never guess how to do the special moves. You try everything. Back forward kick, down forward punch, half circle back punch, you know, the typical stuff. But none of that works. So you gotta either maybe have the instruction manual or go on the internet to get the moves. You gotta hold the C button. Like instead of down forward C, you gotta hold C while you do it. Why couldn't it be something more common? I think one basic important thing in any fighting game is being able to pick it up and play. And the special moves are ridiculous. Like, what is this? He shoots fireballs at his dick? Or maybe it's a gaping flame vagina? The fuck knows. Somebody was not right in the head. This game is fucking horrible. Then how do you wash down the bad taste of one shitty game with another? Cybernorth. I already mentioned that this one looks worse than Star Fox, but let's give it a chance. What's with this green face? It's disturbing. Stop talking to me, freak. Every single time you hit something, it says that. Knock it off. God, the mountains come out of nowhere. They just pop up, giving you no time to react. And when you die, it picks you up right where you left off. Sometimes I complain about games making you start back at the beginning, but this one literally puts you right back where you are. Imagine if in Super Mario Brothers you run into a Goomba and die. Okay, then what? Does it start you right in front of the Goomba again? That voice just never stops. Shut up.
Come on! That's enough of that. Gotta get out of my head. I gotta get out of my head. I gotta get out of my head. Stop! Oh shit! Oh. Where'd you learn to be an asshole? Jaguar, I've had all I can take. You're the most fucking... She's growling at me. Hold on. we played a few Jaguar games. We played a sports game, a side scroller, a first-person shooter, a fighting game, a racing game, and a flying game. Played some good games, some bad games, and overall, makes me want to puke. Like a cat. And then what do? They make a CD add-on. Yeah, the fucking Jaguar CD. There's something about this that perplexes me. You have a game console that not many people own. So you make an add-on that requires owning the game console. What were they thinking?
It should have just been its own individual game system. Besides, the fucking thing has its own AC adapter, so that's two. One for the Jaguar and one for the Jaguar CD. And that's some cool looking design. It looks just like a toilet. Yeah, it's a fucking toilet. What a perfect analogy. I would read you some games, but there's one problem. The fucking bastard doesn't work. Not even the cartridge slot, so I can't even play my regular Jaguar games while this thing's connected. I tried using different AC adapters, but nothing worked. It simply won't read the disc. So I sent this broken piece of shit to my friend Richard to see if he could fix it. He invented the Nintoaster, a fully functional NES made out of a toaster. He also made the Super Genitari, which plays NES, SNES, Genesis, and Atari 2600 games. So game mechanisms are his specialty. If he can't fix it, then it's fucked. Here's his diagnosis.
Yes, the Atari Jaguar CD. What a steaming pile of fucking shit that was. I want to make sure there's nothing wrong with the console itself first, just to rule it out. So I plug in a game, push the power button, the Jaguar logo comes careening towards me in the foreground, and after a particularly hilarious fucking startup sequence, I'm playing some Tempest 2000. Whoa! So now I know there's nothing wrong with the console itself. Time to move on to the CD. So I plug it in, hook up the additional 47 cables that came with it, push the power button, the logo comes careening towards me in the foreground, snarls, and a red screen of death indicating a connection problem. So the first thing I did was include every single contact point on both the console and the CD unit. Turned it on, red screen. Then I went back and made physical adjustments to the contact point on both the console and CD unit so it made a more solid connection. Turned it on, red screen. Finally, I just said fuck it, directly wired those two features together, completely bypassing any and all cartridge ports and ruling out no chance of there ever being any kind of connection issue between the two systems. Turn it on, and guess what? Red screen! So at this point, I pretty much just gave up and shipped everything back to him, along with the pop machine, which pretty much just says, I'm sorry, this thing is too shitty for me to work on. I think between the fucking middle finger, red screens, and being snarled at the same time, this machine has become self-aware and does not read quick. That is my diagnosis.
Well, thanks for trying. Thanks for the console. Would you believe that a 30-year-old console attached to a cell phone adapter would work, but a cutting-edge snarling Jaguar doesn't? There's something wrong with it. And you know what? I blew $250 on this thing. So, you know what I did? Bought another one. Yeah. And guess what? It doesn't work either. So, that's about $450 total. Two dead Jaguars. These things are rare. Some of the only two that I can manage to get my hands on just don't work. That leads me to believe that these things, most definitely, are self-aware. They don't want to work. You can't make them. They just refuse to be reviewed. And I've never had that happen. So, the end. I gotta take a shit.
If they move, kill them. Yeah, shoot them. Shoot them. That's what you do. Kill everybody on the screen. Don't let anybody live. That's what it's all about. out and then see somebody, you pump the motherfucking ass full of lead. Then came along the game on the Japanese home computer, the MSX2. It was called Metal Gear, and it was a fresh new idea. It was about survival rather than blunt force. Instead of running up and killing everybody, it was all about getting by undetected. It was an epic, revolutionary idea, and it paved the way for the stealth genre. Snake would become one of the classic video game characters, and of course it was one of the most popular names of the 80s, next to Michael. I always think of Snake from Escape from New York, or the wrestler Jake the Snake. And his full name is Solid Snake. Might as well just be Erect Cock. There were so many sequels, it gets confusing, maybe even chronologically confusing. There was Metal Gear 2, Solid Snake, Metal Gear Solid, and Metal Gear Solid 2. Could they have come up with a title that sounded different? Like, which one's the real 2? Well, if you want to get technical, the first sequel was Snake's Revenge, but that was only a sequel to the NES version. The original game's developer, Hideo Kojima, wasn't involved in either of the NES versions, so Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake was the first true sequel. But again, it was only MSX2, so unless you lived in Japan, chances are you weren't aware of it at the time. Metal Gear Solid was basically the third in the series, but it was the first one that most people played because it was on the PlayStation. It was also the first one to utilize 3D environments, first-person views, and cinematic elements. Today, there's so many Metal Gear Solid sequels and so many versions of each game, it's out of control.
The point is, today, Metal Gear is a franchise. But forget about all that for just one moment. Pretend that it's 1988 and we don't live in Japan. To our knowledge, the only game is Metal Gear on the NES. I remember renting it from the video store thinking, wow, that looks pretty cool. But there was something about the cover that was really familiar, which I never realized until now. It's Kyle Reese from the Terminator. Yeah, without a doubt.
It also has the fastest title screen in video game history. Watch how long it stays. And then it goes to the demo. Seriously, it's only up there for 2 seconds. I'll time it. There you go, 2 seconds. It's like the game saying, oh, well, you're not going to push start? Or parachute. And who the hell are these other 3 guys? I don't even know if you ever see them again. Then you get a briefing from your boss. It says, first attempt to contact missing are Gray Fox. Gray, there's a typo on the first message. So then you walk over, you could either just go up and fight this guy, or wait for him to fall asleep, or feel asleep. I guess if he feels asleep, that's good enough. But even then, when you go near him, he just wakes up. So what's the difference? Then there's all these dogs. The first instinct is to sneak by. But look at this. I can't fucking go through. What's blocking me? If you really weren't intended to fit through, couldn't they have put these Jeeps closer to the grass? You can only move along a grid, so basically you can't go near anything. Bad game design at its finest. So I punch out all these dogs, and then I just go to the next screen, just keep walking down. Oh, fuck. What was the point of that? You know what the point was? To waste my fucking time. Now the dogs are back? Of course, it's the classic respawning enemy bullshit. So I gotta punch the fucking dogs again. You know, who the hell goes around punching dogs? Alright, come on, you mother bitch. Come on. Ugh, damn it. Alright, now I'm gonna get in this truck here. Wow, this truck's the size of a fucking house. And it doesn't make any sense. You stay the same size, so how does the truck get bigger? Oh well, whatever. What's this? Binoculars? Alright, gonna go back out here. What the fuck? That was ridiculous! The enemies respawn if you go in the truck. It's not like I left the screen, it was just a sub area. And once you get out of the truck, you're immediately open to enemy fire. That is so fucking cheap. You wanna play dirty? Alright, fucking goddamn piece of shit. The one thing that's cool, I still have my binoculars, so I don't gotta go in that truck again. I'm just gonna punch this motherfucker. Die! Asshole. Go to the select screen here, choose the binoculars. Okay, so let's try them out. Alright, I'm using the D-pad. Looks like I'm scanning the environment. Just a little handy way to see what lies ahead, I suppose. Now I'm going back to the select screen, turn it off. Okay. What? You son of a bitch! The enemies respawn if you this a glitch? Or were the game designers deliberately trying to be fucking assholes? Seriously. And this whole jungle scene wasn't even in the original version. Like, let's see, what kind of stupid shit can we add? Let's take a great game and just dump an ass-loaded diarrhea all over it. Now we're fucking lying. It's the same screen being repeated. Is it like in Zelda, where you have to go northwest, southwest? But no, you just go down. Whenever you go left or right, it just takes you back to the same spot. Then let me ask a perfectly legit question. What were they thinking? Why not just have one path? Thanks for tricking me into thinking I'm going somewhere when I'm really not. Alright, bastard. Fuck! Oh my god. I gotta go back to the beginning every time. Are there any checkpoints? Am I ever gonna get to continue? And where's my fucking gun? Is that all I get? Just my fist? Oh, I have a pack of cigarettes too. Wow, hey kids, smoke up. The menus suck. Check it out, here's how it works. Select brings up the main menu. Now, select does nothing. B goes back to the game. And A chooses a submenu. Now, select goes back to the game. And B now does nothing. And A chooses the items. It's so inconsistent. Until you get used to it, it takes so fucking long to navigate. I'm not trying to find flaws in this game. This is honestly how I felt the first time playing this 20 years ago. I hated it. I wanted to know two things. When do I get a gun? When do I get to continue? I kept dying over and over again, and seeing that first screen so many times left a permanent mental image in my brain for the rest of my life. But once you learn how to get by, you go in the first building, and soon enough you get the gun. Once that happens, the game gets a lot easier. But still, every time you die, you go back to the fucking beginning. But like I said, you get to keep your weapons, so once you have the gun, you're all set. And some of the trucks drive you around, kind of like a warp zone, but you have no control over it. You just step into a random truck and off you go. Uh-oh, the truck has started to move. Man, these translations suck. Couldn't they get anybody to proofread this shitload of fuck? Anyway, each time I play it, I seem to get one step further. But there's always going to be something unexpected. Like that right there. How was I supposed to know there'd be a trap door? It's all about trial and error. Just because of that, I gotta start all over. I've heard that if you use the transceiver, it makes the trap door go away. Which it does, but you still die. What the fuck? Anyway, you go around collecting items, key cards, and rescuing hostages. But if you want a chance to read any of the dialogue boxes, you better be careful not to touch the D-pad. Yeah, you know how most games you can cancel out the text by pushing A or B, or sometimes start, but never the fucking D-pad? Naturally, when you get an item, you're using the D-pad because you're walking toward it. So you have to remember to let go right away. That is some mixed up buffalo bullshit right there. And sometimes the dialogue box can actually get blocked. They can't keep the objects in the game from getting in front of the text, or maybe it's to hide their inability to proofread. I have located some plastic explosive. This game's a mess. How did they fuck it up so bad? There's so many spots where you just walk into a room and drop dead. Like here, I have to switch on my gas mask. Of course, if I don't realize that, I only have 1 second to react before my health's drained all the way. And then the fucking boss calls and says, I forget to tell you something. You will need your gas mask. Oh, no shit. You're a little fucking late there, asshole. You think you could tell me before I step into the room? Not after? I mean, if I survived long enough to get his message, I would have already figured that out. But you want to know what else sucks about this room? To get in, you need to have your key card selected. Then, right away, you need to select your gas mask. So, unavoidably, you lose some health. And then once again, to get out of the room, you have to select your key card. So, twice you take damage. And as far as I know, there's no way to avoid it. Probably my favorite fucked up part is right here. See this truck? It's too close to the edge of the screen. So if you want to go in there, you have to leave the screen twice. You go right, go up, and go left. What game would ever make you do that? And it's so annoying when people gang up on it. Oh my god, get off me! Get off! I can't get off! most likely you won't beat it in one sitting. That's why there's a password system. But, like you'd expect, it's horrendous. Is there any reason why these passwords have to be so fucking long? Even this would be overdoing it. Why do we need this little extra part? For the love of fuck. Well, then guess what? If you use the password, it starts you at the building where you left off. Why couldn't that